The next step is to add some section views, which is a little more difficult to add to the sheet model. There are several ways this can be done, but the basic requirements for a section are that it should be self-updating, in other words, dynamically linked, and hidden lines should be displayed. Now, the three methods I'm going to show you all work exactly that way, but sometimes you have to make a few compromises. The first method we'll talk about right now is called the fence clip. The second method in later videos will be the place fitted section tool, and later on hypermodels. Let's get started on the fence clip option first. Now go back to your design model as I've done here. It's not a difficult method, but the steps can at first sight look a little complicated. Now what I want to do is to make a vertical section of the bushing. In other words, I'm going to cut right down the center of this bushing, down vertically, and detach the back half of the bushing in a section. Now basically I'm working in the front view. The first thing I need to do is to set the active depth. And I want the active depth in the front view, so I click in the front view. And immediately we see the active depths being displayed in the other views. I want to snap to this point in the top view. Remember, you have to use a view at right angles to the view you're working in to set active depths. So I'm going to accept that point there. So my active depth is at this location. And let's double check this. So I'm going to start the line tool, and I'm going to draw a line in my front view. And if you look in the top view, you'll see that the line is being drawn at that active depth. So everything's fine. Next, I need to define the display depth of the front view. So click on the Set Display Depth tool. Again, data point in the front view, because that's where you're going to set it. And then look at the top view again. Zoom out a little bit. And here we see the current location of the display depth. I want the display depth to start at the active depth and then move beyond so they can capture the back half of this bushing. So I'm setting the front and the back clipping planes. Since I'm working in the front view, I'm setting it in the top view, then my front clipping plane is in this direction. And I need that to be at the active depth, which is there. So there is my front clipping plane data point. Move backwards. In this case, it doesn't matter how far backwards because there's nothing else behind this model. So let's just plop it there. So there's my back clipping plane. Now we can make a section. So back to the front view. Make sure that the clipping planes, both back and front, are on because we want to clip out this bushing between the display depths. And now we go to the fence. We make a fence around the front. Now remember, in 3D, the volume of a fence is the display depth in that view. And we're going to copy at this point. So I'm going to right click. And what I'm copying is the portion of the bushing between the front and back clipping planes. I'm going to left click. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, drag this over a little bit, flop it in place, right click. And here we see my section. That's a vertical section. It's the back half of that bushing. So it's quite neat once you get the hang of the number of steps you have to take and the order in which you have to take them. Now at this point, it wouldn't hurt to undo that and go back over those steps again, making sure you fully understand why you're placing an active depth, why you're placing a display depth, and how that will clip out a portion of this bushing. Now, having got the section, we can send that off to the sheet view, and we can do that in this front view again. This is the one that we want. So we're going to make a saved view of the section, which is this. So we'll do a saved view of that. I'm going to call it front section and data point in the front view. Let's zoom off to the sheet view. Let's open that up, put it up there. And front section is cool. Okay, here it comes. There. There's my front section. Now you can tell it's a section because you can see those hidden lines in this area here. All you have to do now is line that up with the top view and add some hatching to the cut surfaces. Now I'll let you do that since that's a fairly simple process. So line up and hatch the cut areas and on your own make a plan section of the bushing, cutting horizontally through the bushing and looking downwards. Make a section of that and send that off to the sheet view as well. Now that's exactly the same process that we just used, except that you have to think about the views that you're going to do it in. This is a different view orientation from the front view, so you need to consider which view is best for a plan section. Now, when you've added the extra view and also added some hatching, you should see a drawing which looks something like this. Now, it's not perfect by any means, and if you look very closely at some of the views, you'll find lines which really shouldn't be there, but because of the drawing methods, they do. And we'll address that in the next two section generating methods. If the objects are moved in the source design, the save views will need to be resaved and the views repositioned in the sheet design. On the other hand, you can pan the views in the source design without affecting the saved views. If you need to regain the original source views after panning, simply apply the save view to that view window.